everybody. Welcome to Marriage Moment. We are taking this time to invest in marriage, give you a little bit of stuff to think about to help improve your marriage, to get your marriage from where it is today to something better and growing and happy off in the future. And it's a journey. You have not arrived yet.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of time. We are not marriage counselors. If you haven't met us, I'm Jason. This is my wife, Renee. We've been married for 31 years. It's a long time. And we have made just about every mistake possible. So we're not marriage counselors, but we are pretty good at being married to each other. We figured that out, and we hope we can help you with some ideas too. And what we're doing for a while now is we are looking at the love chapter, 1 Corinthians 13. And we're studying that on Sunday mornings as a sermon series. And so we're taking these marriage moments to apply those principles in 1 Corinthians 13 specifically to our marriage. And we've talked about that love is patient, kind, it's not jealous. And now today we're going to talk about love is not boastful, or love does not boast. And that word boast, interesting word in the New Testament, it's perperumai, and it literally means love is not a pompous windbag. It's not conceited. It's not puffed up with self. So how does that apply to marriage? What do we do with that verse when we think about our marriages?
So this one was a little bit tricky just because, we had to do a little bit of research and read a little bit and just go off some things that we know. So we found a website that is actually called Marriage Moment.
Marriage Moment. What a clever title.
MarriageMoment.org. So we have to give them a shout out.
Shout out MarriageMoment.org if you like to read.
Yeah.
It's a blog.
Yeah, it's
so
kind of cool.
2008.
So some of the stuff we're going to talk about comes from that. But as Jason said, it was conceited and bragging. And it doesn't use that word anywhere else in the Bible.
It's the one time in all of Scripture that pompous windbag is used, and I love it just paints a great picture of somebody who is so puffed up with themselves that they're just a big bag of wind.
Yeah, so what we're talking about here is when we are not boastful and we're displaying a Christian love in our marriage, it's really speaking to the spirit of love in our marriage. It's a really important part of our marriage, and that when I read these things about what it means to be boastful, I don't want to be that way in our marriage. I hope I'm not that way. When I read it, I wonder, if you are being a pompous windbag, would you know that you're being that way? Would you do that on purpose?
I don't know, that's a good question. I think, I say all the time that the self-righteous are not self-aware, because you can't be self-aware and self-righteous. And if you're self-puffed up, you're probably not self-aware enough to know that you're self-puffed up.
Right. And I think that's where marriage comes in as a partnership of, if I'm doing something like that, I want you to tell me. I want us to have a safe enough relationship that you could call me out on it. And I think we've done that in the past some. I mean, it's kind of hard to do because you don't want to hurt your partner, but I hope that we can get to a point, if we haven't arrived there, that we could be safe enough and love each other enough to say when one of us is acting that way, so that we could fix it. So that may be a personal thing for every marriage,
right?
But this is really talking about that neither one of us in a loving marriage needs to think of ourselves more highly than the other, like to puff ourselves up. Yeah. To think so highly of yourself that the other partner is below.
I see this sometimes with there's some generational differences in marriage, and there is a generation of folks that were taught that the man is more important in the relationship than the woman, or plays a bigger role, and it's kind of a puffed up idea of what men bring to marriage to the detriment of the woman. And that's not scriptural marriage. Scriptural marriage is 100% man, 100% woman working together. It's not that one of us is better or worse than the others. We are a partnership. So you can't view yourself in any light as better than your spouse.
Yeah, and you both have to be in the same mindset for that.
Right.
That you both have decided One of us is not more important. One of us is not superior. So hopefully, if one is struggling with that, hopefully you can talk that through and figure that out, because it's not healthy for a marriage. It's not going to display love, and it would eventually cause some problems.
Major issues.
And so if you're not sure if that's where you're at, maybe you could ask yourself, do I consider myself more important than my spouse? Really, when it comes down to it, do I really think that? And am I only loyal to myself? I know I've heard you talk when we do the marriage retreats in the past. You've talked about when you talk to the men that you're willing to lay your life down for me. So that tells me you're not loyal only to yourself. You are committed to our relationship and to me, and you don't hold yourself more important than me.
Yeah. That's an easy thing to say, that you'd be willing to lay down your life for your partner, but would you be willing to lay down your schedule? Would you be willing to lay down finances? Would you be willing to lay down a dream? That's really what it means to not value yourself above your partner.
Yeah, because when you're doing the opposite, when you're not showing love, or when you're showing love and you're not being boastful or bragging or conceited, then you're showing love that treats others with concern and with respect. And a positive regard. You esteem the other better than yourself. And that is what love should look like in a marriage, especially. So you read in the sermon this morning, you were reading from Philippians 2:3. And so I love to look up whatever we've done in the sermon. I look it up on my phone on the Message, because it just says it in a different way sometimes.
The Message translation of the Bible by Eugene
Peterson. Yeah, I love it. And so this part actually says it like this. It says, put yourself aside and help others get ahead. And when I read that, I thought, well, that's exactly what an ideal marriage, that's what you do. When you decide to be married, you're actually putting yourself aside, and you want to help the other get ahead. That's a perfect picture of love that does not boast.
It's good. Well, that's a look at love does not boast. Love does not, literally, Paul said, love does not pompous windbag. And I love the mental picture there. But love, real love, seeks to esteem the other person and to set yourself aside. So I want to ask you what you think. What does pompous windbag look like to you? What does it mean? How do you have a marriage where there's no boasting? Put some comments in here. Maybe that could help somebody else better understand this. We'll be back next week for our marriage moment. We're going to look at the next thing love does not do, and it's really interesting. Love does not proud. Love is not arrogant. So we'll see that next week. Thanks for joining us. See you later.